Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn about clause and its different types. That is the main clause and the subordinate clause. What is a clause? And what's the difference between clause and phrase? And what are the main types of clauses? That's the main clause and the subordinate clause and the difference between them. Let's understand that. So let's move on with phrase first. A phrase is a group of words standing together as a unit, and it is a part of a clause, but it doesn't make complete sense on its own. Whereas clause are a group of words which have both subject and a verb, and they make complete sense. Clause are of two types: main clause and subordinate clause. Main clause, it can stand on its own and has complete thoughts, where subordinate clause can't stand alone as complete thoughts. So suppose I give you an example in here: I drink tea. So we understand this is like, okay, it makes sense. It's a complete sentence. Whereas subordinate clause example, whenever I drink tea. Now this makes sense, but it is an incomplete thought. There is something before that particular group of words. So we have to understand that subordinate clause are called dependent clause. They're dependent on the main clause to make complete sense. Let us understand main clause and subordinate clause in a better way. Main clause is also called as independent clause, and it has got a subject and a verb, and it makes complete sense. So suppose we have a train. So the engine forms, suppose we have the engine as the main clause, then the compartments would be the subordinate clause. So engine can go on its own. So main clause can stand on its own. It is called independent clause. Whereas subordinate clause, just like the compartment, it cannot stand on its own. So it's called dependent clause. It has to depend on the main clause to make sense. So just check the example in here. I forgot to take my medicine. It makes complete sense. It doesn't need any other sentences to complete it. That is the main clause. Whereas subordinate clause, when he went outside, it was raining. Here, when he went outside is not making complete sense unless we have the next sentence, that is, it was raining. So when he went outside is a dependent clause. It is depending on the next sentence. So when he went outside is called the subordinate clause. Let us understand this further by the following examples. The first one: they vary in type, but they include forest monuments. Here, they vary in type is a complete sentence, and they include forest monument. That is also a complete sentence. You don't require any other sentences for that. So both are main clause. I'll make you all understand the structure, this type of sentence. There's a particular word for this type. It is called compound sentence. We'll be explaining this in our further videos. So next one. So the first one, as I said, there are two main clauses in here. The second one, the mountain is significant because of its characteristics. Now over here, we have one subject, the mountain, one verb. So that again is a complete sentence here. So the whole sentence goes as the main clause. Next one, if the site meets with this criteria, it can be inscribed on the World Heritage List. So here again we have two sentences, but the first sentence, if the site meets with this criteria, is an incomplete. It requires the next sentence to complete it. So that becomes a subordinate clause, and it can be described on the World Heritage List. That becomes the main clause because it's a complete sentence. Next one, there are 890 World Heritage Sites. Again here, there are 890 World Heritage Sites would be the main clause. That are located in 148 countries becomes a subordinate clause since it depends on the previous sentence. The next one, the project cost $80 million, $40 million from 50 different countries. Now again here, 40 million came. Now came word is a verb. Subject is also there. We have two subjects, two words. So we have two main clauses here, two complete sentences. So both are main clause. I hope the sentences are clear to you. Let's understand these examples. The first one, enough has been said about this great warrior. We have to underline the subordinate clause in this. Here, enough has been said would be the main clause, and who conquered the world would be the subordinate clause. So we have who conquered the world as the subordinate clause over here. Next one. The mailboxes kindly practice with me whenever I required them. The mailboxes kindly practice will be the main clause. Whenever I required them, that is depending upon the main clause. So whenever I required them would become the subordinate clause. Next one. I think that more people should take up sports as a full-time career. And here again, I think is the main clause. That more people should take up sports as a full-time career becomes a subordinate clause because it's depending upon the main clause, I think. Next one. Do you think? Do you think is the main clause? Nutrition is a neglected area would become other subordinate clause. Next one. That's the best thing that has happened to me. That's the best thing would be the main clause. That has happened to me becomes the subordinate clause. Next one. India managed just 6 medals in 2012 Olympics, even though we are a nation of 1.3 billion. So again here, India managed just 6 medals in 2012 would be the main clause. Even though we are a nation, that is the subordinate clause. Hope main clause and subordinate clause is clear to you. Thank you. I'll be adding in more videos related to subordinate clause and the different kinds. So be connected with me. Bye.